Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? Kyle back with the Fantasy Headliners, and we have had a lot of movement in the draft over the last couple of days. We saw the Miami Dolphins move back and then move up. San Francisco moved up. Philadelphia moved back. And ladies and gentlemen, I expect several more deals to potentially go down before we even get to draft night. But hey, this is what makes the NFL draft so exciting. So this was a great time to update you and bring you my second round of mock drafts. Now, I was going to have this out to you a lot sooner. Got delayed for a couple of days, and then all these trades happened, so I was like, hey, perfect timing. So I went back and redid it again, but I wanted to get it out to you as soon as possible. So we are going to run through my first round mock draft tonight. I've included the trades that just happened, and maybe another one or two as well to kind of spice things up and take a look at what could happen moving forward. Do me a favor though. Hey, if you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Stick around for all the great off-season content. Hit that like button as well if you appreciate the content. And then as always in the comments, let me know, what are you thinking? Are there any picks that you disagree with? And if you do, just tell me why. Just be like, hey, Kyle, I disagree with this pick because, and lay out a reason. Don't say, yo, Kyle, you smoke a joint before recording this? Or, hey, you get dropped on your head as a kid? I mean, come on. Let's have a good discussion. If you don't agree, let me know. And let's have a great conversation about the 2021 NFL Draft. Let's jump into it. We already know what's going on at the top of the draft. First overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, we've got Trevor Lawrence going there already. I don't think that changes anytime soon. Trevor Lawrence looks to be the number one overall pick for me. Now, after that, it might get a little bit different. At this point, I'm sold on Zach Wilson being the number 2 overall pick to the New York Jets. Not only did they have their GM there, but they had their head coach and offensive coordinator there at his pro day the other day. So 100%, they seem to be all in and taking Zach Wilson there at the top. They could be just doing due diligence. I mean, watching Trey Lance. They could be at Justin Fields and his pro day when that happens. We'll see. But I think the excitement about his upside is going to kind of lure him into taking them at number 2. And I'm fine with it. I don't have anything against Zach Wilson. I think he's got a little bit of time to learn. But what does that mean? Is Sam Darnold gonna, get another year or half a year or a few games to start? Will they end up trading him, before the draft, during the draft, after the draft? That will be something to keep an eye on as well. Number 3, this is where we just had a trade. San Francisco moving up with Miami. Here, I've still got Justin Fields going to the San Francisco 49ers. I think he's a little bit more pro-ready than what Trey Lance is. I like Trey Lance. I like Trey Lance a lot. I think he is going to be a really, really good NFL quarterback. But I think San Francisco might be feeling the pressure a little bit, all right? They were just in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They fall all the way down this past year, a lot of injuries. Jimmy G's kind of held back the explosiveness that offense could have. So they're going to go get their quarterback now. But I think they're going to get the guy that's a little bit more NFL ready, that can step in and lead this team right away. To me, that's Justin Fields. Now, at number 4, this is where we've got my first trade going down in here. I've got Denver moving up. Now, Denver doesn't have to move up that far. They're moving up from the 9th pick up to the 4th pick. And I think they're going to take out of North Dakota State, Trey Lance. Now, again, these two could flip. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Trey Lance goes to San Francisco instead, and then somebody moves up and they end up getting Justin Fields. Who knows? Maybe Atlanta stays here, and Atlanta, they try to take another guy that's going to be coming up here in a couple of minutes. I could see him going offensive line. I could see him going tight end. Don't necessarily agree with the tight end pick, but when you got a guy like Kyle Pitts on the board, they might be excited to try and take him there. And then that means whatever quarterback is left over might start to fall a little bit. So we got to keep an eye on that as well. At number 5 overall, the Cincinnati Bengals, they should take Penei Sewell here if he is the guy at that spot. If he is still there, they need to take him, all right? You got to protect Joe Burrow. You got to give Joe Mixon more room to run. Take the offensive tackle that is by far the best in the draft a guy that is a locked-in top 5 player in this draft. Draft him and put him on the offensive line. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I think they're going to go get Kyle Pitts. There's just something. I sat at this and I looked at it forever. And I said, Sewell's the guy. He should be. He is the smart pick. But, you just lost A.J. Green. Maybe you're looking to add a little bit of spice to the offense. Joe Burrow throwing it a lot last year. Maybe you feel like you need another weapon. When you've got a generational talent like Kyle Pitts, a lot of people saying that he might be the best tight end to come out of the draft in quite some time. With Kyle Pitts still sitting there, I think they're going to get a little bit excited and they're going to end up making that pick. Miami Dolphins, they moved back with San Francisco. So they went from 3 down to 12, and then they made a trade with Philadelphia going from 12 up to 6. Now, why did they do that? So they can get a wide receiver. Number 1 wide receiver on my board, Ja'Marr Chase, going here at this spot to the Miami Dolphins. Love this pick for them. Really love any of the top 3 wide receivers for them. They need it, and it's going to help out a lot. If they land Ja'Marr Chase, then they are in business. Loving that offense this year. At number 7, my Detroit Lions. Definitely thinking that they go with Jalen Waddle here. Now, if things get, again, get a little bit crazy at the top and we see a guy like Penei Sewell kind of drop down, then at that point, I'm like, yeah, 100%, let's go ahead and run with him there. However, I don't think that's going to happen. That would be the best for protecting your quarterback. You just signed Jamal Williams. You've got DeAndre Swift. Timing has been kind of an issue at the quarterback position. Matthew Stafford not having all the time in the world, getting knocked around a lot. So again, another pick where it's like, hey, Sewell's probably the best pick here for you. No, let's go with somebody else. I'm fine with Jalen Waddle. They need another wide receiver. And Jalen Waddle probably would have been the wide receiver 1 in this draft if he had not been hurt last season. Kind of the same thing for Ja'Marr Chase. If he hadn't sat out last season, probably definitely locked in there at number 1. But Jalen Waddle ended up getting hurt last year. I think that's kind of knocking him down a little bit. He has not participated in a pro day as of yet, but Alabama does have another one coming up. We'll see if he jumps in that one. All right, Carolina at pick 8, and this is where the stud linebacker Micah Parsons out of Penn State ends up going. This guy, if you watch college football or if you do anything with the draft, you already knew that Micah Parsons was going to be an absolute beast. And then Parsons goes out and absolutely slams his pro day, including a blazing fast 40. The guy is just an absolute physical specimen, an animal on the football field, and one of the best talents in this class. Now, there might be some off-field concerns. He was kind of caught up and named in a couple of different scandals at Penn State. I don't even want to use the word scandals. They were things that were brought up. Still some ongoing type investigations with those things. We're going to leave that stuff to the experts that handle that. Me personally, we're looking at the football talent. He's one of the most talented players in this draft. And if it wasn't for that off-field thing, he might be a little bit higher than this. But a team is still going to invest a high pick in them. And here, Carolina can take him at linebacker. Carolina was really looking to get a quarterback in this draft, I believe. But after the moves for people to trade up and get him, I think Carolina just sits back and is like, let's give Teddy B another year. Let's see what happens. And we'll look at maybe a quarterback next year if it doesn't work. Or, maybe they do go with a Mac Jones. Maybe they do make a trade before we get there. But Micah Parsons going here out of Penn State. At number 1.09, the Atlanta Falcons. Again, mocking Denver, moving up to Atlanta's position. Atlanta coming back here to number 9. Penei Sewell coming here, offensive tackle, Oregon. This is where he finally falls to a top 5 pick, coming down to 1.09. And like I've said a lot of times with my mock drafts, I like to play out different scenarios and different things that could happen. And in this scenario that we're playing out right here, this is how quickly very talented players can fall in a draft when teams get absolutely enamored with looking at kind of the sexy video, okay? An offensive lineman is never going to be a sexy pick, but when you've got guys that are uber talented at their positions, again, when you're looking at a Kyle Pitts, when you're looking at some of the quarterbacks in this league, when you're looking at the top couple of wide receivers here, when teams look at that and think that dynamic playmaking ability is going to be able to help them win right away, they get a little bit swept up in that, and they miss out on just how good a guy like Sewell can end up being. So I'm going with him here, falling to 1.09, but I could see him going a lot sooner than this. And honestly, Atlanta fans, if this were to happen, be thankful. Again, I know it's not the type of pick to get really, really excited about, but your coaching staff, your front office, everybody new there has shown that they are dedicated to still trying to win this year with the pieces you have in place. Follow that this year, and if it doesn't work out and things get blown up and Matt Ryan is gone next year, then you'll have an offensive tackle, a really good one, to help protect your new young quarterback. At number 10, the Dallas Cowboys, Patrick Surtain II, cornerback out of Alabama. He's my cornerback 2 currently in my rankings. However, Caleb Farley going down with an injury, going to need surgery for it, should be fine by training camp with no issues. I think that might back off some teams a little bit. Dallas needing a little bit of help on the defensive side of the ball, gets themselves a top cornerback in this draft. I love this pick for him. Last year went with the super sexy CeeDee Lamb pick in the first round. This year, taking it a step back and getting a guy that truly can step in as well and help them right away, even though it's not a name to do backflips over. At number 11, the New York Giants taking Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle out of Northwestern. And look, the Giants have done a great job this year of building up that defense. You've done a really good job of bringing in another offensive weapon in Kenny Golladay, ensuring that you don't have to use a draft pick here on another offensive weapon. Daniel Jones, you have got to give him time to develop into the quarterback that you drafted him believing he would be. And part of that is protecting him. Daniel Jones was actually really, really good going down the field last year. He just didn't do it often. Why? He didn't have a whole lot of time to throw. Not only that, Rashawn Slater, get a guy that can help block for Saquon Barkley, all right? This is not a pick that on paper pops out to you, but when you get into the season, you are going to see the benefits of getting Slater for your offensive line. At pick 12, Philadelphia, again, moving back here with Miami, which is just fine for them because they get the Heisman Trophy winning Devonta Smith, wide receiver Alabama, to fall to them. Great news for Philadelphia. They need another offensive weapon. It sounds like Zach Ertz is going to end up being out the door. They're going to try and trade him. Obviously, you've lost Alshon Jeffrey. Deshaun Jackson's not there anymore. You need more offensive weapons. You absolutely need to get them. Getting Devonta Smith would be an absolute huge win for Philadelphia, especially after they moved back with Miami. At number 13, the Los Angeles Chargers, Jalen Phillips, edge out of Miami, considered to be the number 1 edge by quite a few people. Still a little bit to work on, might be a little bit raw in terms of talent, but that defense needs a little extra pop in it. They need to get into the backfield. This is a division. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes trying to keep up with him. You really need to have that high motor outside edge player to make them feel uncomfortable. They go with Jalen Phillips here. At number 15, New England gets their quarterback of the future, Mac Jones. Now, I could see somebody trading up for Mac Jones, and in fact, I think it's going to happen. As I sat here and kind of played out some scenarios with this one, there was a couple of trades that I thought might end up happening, but I'm letting it play out a little bit longer before I try to dive more into that. I'm waiting on a couple of pro days to finish up, and I'm looking on a little bit more research before I make that. I do think somebody could end up moving up for Mac Jones. For me, the Patriots fit that, and the Chicago Bears kind of fit that in terms of teams looking to move up. Those are the two teams that I'm keeping an eye on, potentially moving up for Mac Jones. But Mac Jones going to the New England Patriots. For some reason, if Cam falters this year, the Patriots spent a lot of money in free agency, okay? They want to get back to winning right away, okay? Miami made a great deal. They're getting a bunch of draft picks. They're loaded up for the future. The Bills, obviously, number 1 there on top, okay? The Patriots need to keep pace. Get Mac Jones now. Let him sit there and learn for a little bit with Cam. If Cam looks as bad as he did at times last year, then Mac Jones can step in this year. And if not, if Cam makes it through the season, then you've got Mac Jones ready for 2022. The Arizona Cardinals getting my cornerback one, Caleb Farley, to fall to them at 1.16. And again, Farley's a guy that could end up falling a little bit. Back injury, needs to have surgery, herniated disc. He'll end up being fine. There's not going to be any issues, it seems like, long term with him. But it's going to put him down for a little bit. He should be ready for training camp. And it's coming at the right time, too, with the NFL draft being here, that it could hurt the value just a little bit and allow him to fall back. But Arizona needs themselves a cornerback, and this would be a great, great pick for them. At number 1.17, the Las Vegas Raiders, Elijah Vera Tucker, inside offensive lineman out of USC, playing the guard position. You just dismantled your offensive line. You spent a little bit of money to bring in Kenyon Drake. You lost Nelson Aguilar, so you're banking on a couple of younger wide receivers to step up. You got to give Derek Carr time to throw the ball, and you got to create running lanes. Vera Tucker can absolutely do that. At number 18, the Miami Dolphins, they already moved back and then moved up. They keep their spot here. They bring in another offensive weapon, and Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama. Oh boy, just think of this offense. You add Harris in the draft. You add Chase in the draft. You have Parker there. Tua as your quarterback, which I know some people are down on, but he's going to be just fine. A decent offensive line. This offense is going to be ready to roll. Adding Harris here would be a huge, huge get for them. And Tua would be back with his former teammate. The Washington football team at 19th overall, Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle out of Michigan. Very raw, okay? During his time in college, he's had some injuries that he's had to deal with. However, the talent is there, and the little amount of video that you've seen from him, he has gone up against some very top defensive ends, one of which, the Bosa brothers, he's had a chance to face off, okay? So, going up against Bosa while he was at Ohio State, Mayfield did very, very well. Jalen Mayfield, a great pick here for the Washington football team. You brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick, okay? Keep him clean. You've got Antonio Gibson. Make sure that you get him running lanes. And then, of course, you've got Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. Give them time to get open. The Chicago Bears at 1.20. I still think we might be seeing them move up. But if they don't, Gregory Rousseau, edge out of Miami. Really like this pick here for them. The Bears need a new edge rusher. They need somebody there on the outside to create pressure. Yeah, Matthew Stafford is no longer there in the NFC North, but you still got Rodgers you got to get after, and you still got Kirk Cousins you got to get after. I guess you got to get after Jared Goff as well, but whatever. So Gregory Rousseau, again, kind of a raw talent, a guy that's kind of similar to like an Ezekiel Ansah that we saw quite a while back for the Detroit Lions. I say quite a while back. It really wasn't that long ago. But Ansah coming out of the draft was a very raw prospect. Rousseau's kind of the same way. Great athletic traits, plays very, very well. He's just got some technical things he's got to work on to really take that next step and become a game changer at the NFL level. At 1.21, the Indianapolis Colts, yes, they ended up bringing back T.Y. Hilton. I'm not sold that they don't go with another Minnesota wide receiver here. They've already got one on their team. I'm not convinced that they don't add another weapon for Carson Wentz, though, and go for Rashad Bateman. I like Rashad Bateman. Not a whole lot of people are talking about him because of those other top wide receivers, but Bateman's going to be a really, really good NFL player. I think even though they brought Hilton back on a one-year deal, that he is a guy that they're going to maybe shuffle on and off the field a little bit. Paris Campbell, is he going to end up being healthy? If a guy like this is here, I could see them going with another offensive playmaker. They could also go on the defensive side of the ball a little bit as well. They're going to have some room to maneuver here, and we're going to see over the coming weeks how things play out with some more pro days. At 1.22, J.C. Horn, a guy that just blew up the combine, cornerback for South Carolina, going to Tennessee. They need an offensive weapon there as well. And again, if some things switch around and maybe Bateman ends up going to another team, or maybe Indianapolis, they go somewhere different. Obviously, Rashad Bateman, if he can fall here to Tennessee, then I would go Rashad Bateman to Tennessee instead. But we'll see how some of those things play out. New York, their first round pick from Seattle from that Jamal Adams trade. Travis Etienne out of Clemson. And then another running back right out after that, 1.24, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Javonte Williams, running back out of North Carolina. Both of these guys, very, very good assets. For the New York Jets, you bring in a rookie, high-end, high upside running back player to go along with your first pick of Zach Wilson. You really redo that offense and you add yourself some game changers. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, you need a running back. Williams is a guy that can do a little bit of everything. He can be a 3-down guy for you. We've heard in the past Mike Tomlin likes to be that 3-down guy. He likes to give his running backs 3-down work, but he really hasn't had a guy that could really take on that. Connor did okay, but the problem is Connor's broken down a little bit too. So bring in Williams, great pick here. At 1.25, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a pick that came to them from the LA Rams in the Jalen Ramsey trade. They're going to go with Dylan Raduns, offensive tackle out of North Dakota State. I really like Raduns. I mean, he is just an absolute mauler. He's really, really good on the ground in the run game as well, but you need to protect Trevor Lawrence, and Raduns can help you with that. The Cleveland Browns, they need another guy on the opposite side of Myles Garrett to rush the quarterback. Kwity Paye is going to do that for them. Paye, we know, had his pro day over the weekend. Actually, on Friday, had his pro day. He didn't end up doing everything because the quad kind of tightened up for him. Things seem to be okay, though. We broke it down over on Headliner U. My boy Chris Kennedy went into Kwity Paye, what happened with the injury, and we've got a little bit of an outlook from our Dr. Ethan Turner, who had an inside source close to Paye that talked about it a little bit. So when this mock is done, head over to Headliner U. Make sure you subscribe while you're over there and check out that latest video on Kwity Paye. The Baltimore Ravens at 1.27. You know the Ravens love them a little defense. Azeez Ojulari, edge out of Georgia. This is a guy that kind of at the beginning of the draft process, I saw some people say that he was the top edge rusher. He's kind of fallen down a little bit since then. He's still a very, very good player, and the Baltimore Ravens would definitely prove worthy of adding him to the team when you've got to get after Ben Roethlisberger, you got to get after Baker Mayfield, and you got to get after Joey Burrow. Ojulari will end up helping quite a bit with that. At 1.28, the New Orleans Saints bring in Greg Newsome, the second cornerback out of Northwestern. We know that they're going to need some help on the defensive side of the ball. They're okay over on offense. I mean, okay, depending on how you feel about Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. But that defense really making sure that they're stopping plays and not putting too much pressure on Winston and Hill to necessarily have to go out and win games when they can just play their game. Helping out at the defensive side of the ball is really going to be good for that as well. Green Bay Packers at 1.29. Zaven Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa. They've really been missing that guy in the middle of the field, that field general, the voice of the defense since Blake Martinez left. Zaven Collins, absolutely loved him. I broke him down on this channel already. We talked about him over on Headliner U. This is a guy that is really, really good, can get all over the field. He can rush a little bit. He can drop back and make sure that he's taking care of the run. He can track down guys all over the field. I really like his motor. I like his speed. And I like his intensity. He's going to make a very good linebacker at the NFL level. The Buffalo Bills, Christian Barmore, interior defensive lineman out of Alabama. What is one problem that the Bills had an issue with last year? It was stopping the run. Barmore is not a sexy pick by any means, but he is a guy that absolutely can help plug up the middle of that deep or offensive line and really stop anybody trying to rush up the gut with them. They need to do a better job of that, and Barmore will help with it. The Kansas City Chiefs at 1.31. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame. One of my favorite linebackers, one of my favorite players overall in this draft. Reminds me a lot of Quan Alexander. He would be excellent for the Chiefs in the middle of that defense. He would be really good at helping stop the run a little bit, and he'd be really good on a lot of those short to intermediate routes. This is a guy that can drop back in coverage. He can make tackles all over the field. He's not going to do a whole lot of rushing. You're not going to get many sacks from I'm calling him JOK. You're not going to get many sacks from him, but that's okay. You don't get a whole lot of sacks from Lavonte David, and he's been one of the most productive linebackers in the NFL for a few years now. And to round out round one, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that they don't really need a whole lot of help. Wyatt Davis, interior offensive lineman out of Ohio State. Now, I think he's being overlooked a little bit. I think when we get that pro day in the books, I think he might start to climb a little bit. But these last few picks here at the end of the first round, they could end up going either way. There's a few guys here that could easily go in the second. There's a few guys that could go in the second that could easily go in the first. This is where you kind of have a little bit of that back and forth, and I would not be surprised if we saw some teams jumping back up here into the first to maybe make a run at like a Rondale Moore, a thing, try to make a run at him so he doesn't get into the second round. Don't be surprised if some teams try to move up here into the late first as well on draft night. Headliner Nation, there you have it. Whew! A little bit out of breath. We were running right through that one. Jake and I normally do these things together, but hey, Jake is getting ready for a little bit of a vacation, headed out to see his fam. I said, yo, man, I've got it this week. Don't worry. I'll do it. We'll get the next mock draft together when you're back. So Jake will be back for that one, but I handled this one as he prepares to take off for a few days and enjoy a relaxing vacation. I hope you all are relaxing out there as well over the weekend or whenever you're checking this video out. Again, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that like button, and make sure you leave a comment down below. Let me know respectfully any areas that you disagree with. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get out of here. Make sure you check us out over on Headliner U as well. Description. Check it out down below. There is a link to Headliner U. We go way more in depth on these college players over on that channel as well. So, Headliner Nation, I'm out. Stay safe. Stay healthy. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.